Well, Manchester United are FA Cup winners for the 13th time. Hey guys, welcome back to the channel. Welcome to another live stream. Manchester United are the FA Cup winners. Manchester City 1, Manchester United 2. That's how it finished at Wembley today after 90 odd minutes of football, in which it was very much possession, empty possession, whatever you want to call it, against possession with intent, possession with aggression, possession that actually hurt opposition. And basically what I mean by that is Pep Guardiola's side, typical sort of thing you'd expect from a Pep Guardiola side. Lots of possession, but in this instance, they couldn't break down what was a very stubborn, a very disciplined, and very resolute Manchester United defence. A defence that we haven't really seen too often this season. I was watching the game. I was watching, obviously, the commentary afterwards and everything. And I think Alan Shearer, who was on the commentary, and Mika Richards, that was in the punditry positions, were claiming, where has this Man United side been all season? To that, I respond with, we have seen it, but we haven't seen it enough. We've seen it in a few games here and there. We've seen it against the likes of Liverpool on a couple of occasions, whether it be in this competition or whether it be in the Premier League. We've seen it against Bayern Munich for about 85 minutes or so in the Champions League. We've probably seen it a couple of times since then in other games against other opposition, but we're just not seeing it on a consistent enough basis. Well, today, Man United turned up. They were, like I say, defensively, they were sound. And going forward, they showed intent, they showed aggression. And that was ultimately why Man United won today. It was about what they did with possession rather than you know what I mean? It was more about, or what I'm saying is it's what they did with the possession over what Manchester City did with the possession, because there was just so much possession in Man City's favour that they ultimately did nothing with. And that's why we have a bit of an upset for us on this very day. Hey, Balam, how you doing, bro? No, I hope you're doing very well, my friend. Yeah, I think it's just the room I'm in. I think the room is just, if my internet is still playing up a little bit, I think it's just the room I'm in. I'm going to try and maybe move to a different room in future, if that is the case. So I do apologize if it is still pretty bad. The Australian team only play well against big teams from yourselves is Eric Ten Hag. We will talk about that later on in the video. Definitely, we will talk about the future of Eric Ten Hag. Glad you're good, bro. I'm good myself. The red team defended well today. Manchester City Blue didn't score enough. It lags a little. Yeah, I do apologize. I think I might just have to go to a different room because the Wi-Fi I've got is pretty good, or it should be good. I just think it's the room I'm in that's a little bit far from the outsource. So yeah, I might have to just switch rooms in future if I do live stream. Yeah, I do apologize. Link should be in the chat if anyone wants to join me and talk about this and talk about Eric Ten Hag as well, talk about Manchester City as well, as best that we can, because like I say, the Wi-Fi is a little bit weird in this particular room, but I do apologize. But if you just want to get in the chat and talk as well, that's still pretty good as well for everybody that is watching and listening. So, I was wrong. I'll hold my hands up and say I was wrong. I thought this would be a comfortable win for Manchester City. It obviously wasn't. It was a lot more difficult than what I believed it to be. I think Manchester City showed United a little bit too much respect. I think starting Kovacic instead of Doku was a mistake, and I think hindsight certainly proves that as well. I think the City just showed United a bit too much respect overall. And in the first half especially, for all of City's possession, they absolutely did not hurt United at all. They barely laid a glove on them. They barely tested Andre Onana. And then in one very quick turnaround, one very quick counter-attack. United are through on goal, and it's a mistake between Gvardiol and Ortega, and Garnacho's got an open goal just to find the back of the net to break the deadlock. You knew, though, that was going to be the setup plan for United. You knew that they were going to sit 10 men behind the ball and hit the ball long. They were going to go long ball United. You know, it was going to be very direct. You know, it was going to be very aggressive. And that high line of Manchester City's just did not, in any way, shape, or form, adapt whatsoever. The players on the pitch didn't adapt. Guardiola himself didn't adapt. And all day, United were just popping that ball over the top and allowing Rashford one side, Garnacho the other side, and Fernandes just to ghost into them kind of pockets of space to really cause some damage. Just in those areas, just to do exactly that. It was just a complete mess up defensively from Manchester City, something that we're not necessarily used to. I know that obviously there's no Edison, so they do lose a little bit of distribution from the back. But even so, the mix-up between goalkeeper and defender was incredible, and something you wouldn't normally anticipate with a Manchester City side so well-oiled and well-drilled. But that's exactly what happened. It was a mix-up between goalkeeper and defender. The ball loops over the top of the goalkeeper, and Garnacho, thank you very much. 1-0 Manchester United with the simplest of tap-ins. And then it's more of the same. There's less of an adapting period for City. And then they find themselves 2-0 down. Again, another counter-attack down that right-hand side. Garnacho again involved, cuts it back to Fernandes. And Fernandes, rather than take the shot on, which I thought he was going to do, with a sublime reverse ball, finds Kobbie Mainoo free inside the 6. Well, I think it was maybe just outside the 6-yard area, just to sort of finesse it round the goalkeeper and make it 2-0. A very well taken goal by Kobbie Mainoo, but Bruno Fernandes' pass there was absolutely exquisite to obviously set him up. And you're thinking, what the hell is going on here? What is going on with Manchester City? Because for all of the possession, for everything that they have, it was counting for nothing. United's defensive plan was worked to perfection. 10 men behind the ball, sit there, don't move, pack out the middle, because they don't really have much width. Pack out the middle of the pitch, eliminate the spaces for the likes of De Bruyne and Foden to exploit, and neutralize any support into Erling Haaland, who again, apart from one moment in the second half, had a pretty much anonymous game. And that is constantly going to go against him. The fact that he doesn't turn up in these big games. But how is he supposed to turn up when he has no supply? He has no supply. They weren't putting the ball into the box. They weren't going direct themselves. They weren't finding Haaland at all. And a large part of that is down to Man United. But a big part of that is down to the players around Haaland as well. And a little bit on Haaland's part as well. He has to obviously try and play his way into the game, as I always expect players to do. And I'll have that criticism for anybody. But a large part of it is down to the supply line. If you don't supply him, he cannot score. He cannot do what he's put on that pitch to do. And that's exactly what happened. A tapping goal, absolutely. For Borussia Dortmund video, will we see you wear the Rafa Benitez style glasses and Borussia Dortmund? Yeah, that's obviously coming this week. So we will see. Do a Champions League watch along if I have time. Maybe I don't know if I will be able to be honest. I'm not sure. No double for Manchester City. Only one. Will be a strange trophy parade. Yeah, I mean, could you? With the bar set so high, could you say that maybe City's season has been a bit of a failure? Just saying. No, of course not. Of course not. Arsenal have a trophy parade for second place. The red team today have a parade or no? We shall see. Be interesting to see if they do. I reckon Arsenal's trophy parade, if they actually did for getting second place, would probably get more than what City's would for winning the Premier League. So there you go. Did you watch on BBC or ITV? BBC mentioned winning double a lot. I watched it on BBC. no ad breaks, and I think slightly better commentary. I don't know who they had on ITV, but I think it's slightly better commentary over there. Is your Premier League prediction review later today? My Premier League prediction was Premier League prediction review. For my predictions. To be fair, probably not. My predictions were probably pretty poor, in all honesty, and I've talked about them a lot throughout the season. So I probably, maybe sometime next week. I don't know. Maybe if I get bored. Yeah, we'll see how that one goes. But I'm going to stick to the FA Cup for now, bro. Second half, Pep makes a few changes, brings on Jeremy Doku. He looked like the only person that was ever going to try and spark some sort of Manchester City comeback. You could tell after like the 60th, 70th odd minute that United were tiring, but yet they still held firm. They still were resorting Manchester City to the long shots, and Andre Onana pulled off a couple of very decent saves. Julian Alvarez had a very good effort. A very good opportunity that he squandered horribly. He got it all wrong and put it wide of the post. Kyle Walker forced a very good stop from Andre Onana. You know it's going to be a bad day when old Poppadom Hands is actually saving some. But then Poppadom Hands did return because he didn't stop Jeremy Doku's drive to make it 2-1 to Manchester City to set up an intriguing finale in which, of course, an equaliser could have easily been around the corner. But despite 7 minutes of added on time, I'm not 100% sure where he got 7 minutes from, but 7 minutes of added on time, United hold firm. They hold out to the final whistle and they record their 13th FA Cup trophy. They are now officially in the Europa League because of this. So it means that Chelsea drop down to the Conference League. United are in the Europa League. It's not bad. It's not a bad season. They definitely redeemed themselves from last year's FA Cup disaster as well. Yeah, it was not a bad day at all for Erik ten Hag's side and Manchester United. Not a bad day at all. They win an FA Cup. They get a celebration. Not a bad day at all. And of course, as Balam says here, they're in the Community Shield for the beginning of next season, which is not exactly a necessity, not exactly a priority, but still is something nice to participate in as a curtain raiser for the season. And yes, I'm sure that they'll be chasing down number 14 to equal Arsenal's record. I'm sure, Balam. So yes, very good point on all of that. City were not good. And they got found out by a basic tactic, yes, but an effective one. If that was Solskjaer, United probably win that game again. Because the tactic was so basic but so effective. Just sit behind the ball, eliminate the space, pack out the centre of the pitch because they don't really have much width and they weren't really holding much width, and just don't do anything stupid. And then when you get the ball, just launch it. And launch it for Garnacho one side, Rashford the other side, and Fernandes will be going through the middle. And that is exactly what United did. And they isolated Gvardiol on that side, who I think has been pretty solid towards the end of the season. But they isolated Gvardiol very, very well in order to do that, and in order for Garnacho to constantly be a thorn in the side of that Manchester City defence. I thought it was a very well executed game plan, albeit rather basic, but again, it's about how effective it is, not about its basicness, because it's against Manchester City at the end of the day. And with how much they've dominated over the years, if you can find anything that's going to hurt City, use it to your advantage. It is what it is. It is what it is. And obviously City weren't at their best. They weren't moving the ball quick enough. I don't think they adapted well to United packing out the middle of the pitch. I think they needed to go a bit more wide. I think they needed to go a bit more direct at times. Just put a few balls. This is the thing. For everybody making an absolute song and dance, shall we say, over the fact that Lisandro Martinez is like 5'9", and you've got a beast of a striker in Erling Haaland, who is like 6'5" or 6'4" or whatever. Why are you not trying to isolate Martinez, and why are you not trying to ping the ball and go more direct yourselves on Haaland? I'm not saying that Martinez is a slouch defender. I'm not saying anything bad about Martinez. I'm just saying that if you've got a significant power and height advantage, why are you not trying to hit that yourself? Because, as I said earlier, Haaland was anonymous in this game, apart from this one moment in the second half where he absolutely rattles the crossbar. But there was no supply into him at all, and the minimum amount of supply that was actually being put into the box was not of a good enough quality for him, and was dealt with by the Manchester United defense. So why are you not trying to exploit your strengths against their main weaknesses in that particular scenario? It just made no sense to me, and I think it showed that the lack of adaptability and the lack of flexibility, I think, in Pep's game plan here, and maybe the sign that I said earlier of too much respect maybe being shown to Manchester United, played into this. And I think that overall, I think Pep did a Pep again. I think Pep did a Pep thing again. I think he overthought it. He overcompensated. And he was thinking too much about the overall situation. But there you go. That's just my personal take on Manchester City. They didn't move the ball quick enough. They didn't play to their strengths well enough. And ultimately, I think it has cost them. Manchester were unbeaten in 20-something games. Yes, I think they were. They were always going to lose somewhere. And today was the day. It wasn't to be away at Tottenham. Hey, we saw already this week one unbeaten run come to an end in Bayer Leverkusen, dude. So, yeah. So, unbeaten things, yeah, always have a stronger chance every game of being beaten. So, it's unfortunate, but it is what it is. Manchester will strengthen. Paqueta from West Ham is one that makes sense. Bernardo could leave now. Well, it depends on Paqueta, doesn't it? Because obviously he's been found guilty of those gambling breaches. So Paqueta may be off the cards for City this summer. So that one could be very interesting to see if that actually does come out or not. But it obviously does, I think, rest on how severe his ban will be if obviously he is to pick up a ban from playing football for those betting breaches. Do you think KDB will go Saudi Arabia? Only a pointless rumor. Would you rather sell Mohamed Salah or lose him for free? I think KDB's got one more year in him, and I think he will leave City next year. As for Salah, I think he will leave Liverpool next year as well. Whether it be on a free transfer or whether we'll protect our investment by getting something for him in the future, I'm not so sure. But I think both of those players, I think their time will come to an end next summer. Next summer at least, so we shall see. Does Pep try to play perfect performance at times? Yes, absolutely. He has a set way of playing. I've said this time and time again about Guardiola. He has a set way of playing football, and that's his plan A. And there's no plan B. Plan B, if anything, is just to do plan A, but better. He doesn't have a plan B. You very rarely see Guardiola change his tactics for anyone. You don't see him drop his defense another 20 yards back onto their own 18-yard area. You don't see him go long ball too often. You don't see him do anything out of the ordinary of what Pep Guardiola does time and time and time and time again. His philosophy is just, let's do plan A, but better. Each and every single time plan A doesn't work. I just think that there needs to be a bit more from, and I know it sounds stupid coming from a team that's won 4 Premier League titles on the bounce, but I think in these types of games, there just needs to be more from them. I think there are a couple of positions where you can look at and go, they need improving. As you say, Bernardo Silva's set to leave this summer. They need a proper right winger. They need to stop shoehorning Julian Alvarez into a position that is not a striker. They need to buy, as good as what Gvardiol's been these past several weeks, I think they need a proper left back. And I know that's been a position that has been sort of awkward for Pep in recent years, but I think that needs to, of course, be an issue. I just think that there are a couple of places there that need strengthening, including the midfield, because Rodri is perfect, but there is going to come a time where Rodri may be playing too many games and may need some rest. Beyond him, I don't think there's anyone there that's ready to step up in his shoes. Kevin De Bruyne is the same. Phil Foden's the same. Beyond them, you've got Mateus Nunes, who, hasn't quite kicked on this season in the hope that Pep Guardiola probably had of him when he first brought him in. Mateo Kovacic, who is a scenario type player, and I think today was a massive indication of that. He is definitely a specific scenario type of player. If you're not in control of the game and you need someone to come in short the midfield, bring him on. Not exactly what I think was needed for at least the first 45 minutes of today. But yeah, I think there is a little bit of questioning that needs to happen of Guardiola and his talent ID, and I think a little bit of the recruitment that's going on at Manchester City right now. And I think it's a bit strange. So many managerial changes. Are you the new Nottingham Forest manager? Hey, if they ever offered, I'd give it a go. If Eric goes, Gareth Southgate would be good to see how he does. He was at England for a while. Ipswich manager is wanted by Chelsea and Brighton. West Ham have a manager now, and Julian Lopetegui, of course. We'll come back to that one. Because obviously we're all going to be talking about Erik ten Hag's future. Vincent Kompany went from Burnley to Bayern. Rodri finally lost the match today. Yeah, he did. Poch and Graham Potter were linked also. Let's get on with the Erik ten Hag talk. We've talked the game. We've talked about Manchester City, how poor they were. We talked about how the executed game plan of Man United was. So I guess we just need to now bring it round to Erik ten Hag. Will he stay or will he go? Look, I found it really weird this week that in the preparation to an FA Cup final, all of the chatter and all of the talk was on United have approached this guy. United have approached that guy. United are talking to this guy. United are talking to that guy. It's weirdly disrespectful. It's horrible and it's stupid to be distracting everyone at that football club with these kinds of stories. Now, could they be fabricated by the media? Of course they could. But they were being broadcast on mainstream media, Sky Sports. That's not a fabricated story. That has to come from somewhere. That has to have legs. That has to have some weight behind it. For Sky Sports to be bringing that story to the public light, to the public domain, there had to be something behind it, in my opinion. Disrespectful on Ten Hag. Whether he deserves it or not, in your opinion, it's disrespectful, and I think it's wrong. If United weren't in an FA Cup final today, go ahead. Talk about it all you want, because there's no distractions there. There's nothing. But to say all of that stuff in the preparation and build up to an FA Cup final, in my opinion, is just disrespectful and horrible to the manager. Whether or not he's a rival or not, I don't care. It seems just totally disrespectful. But it may have worked brilliantly in the form of, City taking it easy, maybe. I doubt it, but on today's performance, it may have worked. Did it pay off in terms of maybe the United players playing for Ten Hag? Maybe Ten Hag picked a team that that was going to absolutely go through brick walls for him today. Maybe that was the case as well. Maybe it worked in that effort, which begs the question: why hasn't that been a consistent factor all season? Who knows? But it is incredible to see all of this, all of what happened today for him. And I've said for weeks that I think he's a dead man walking. I think that regardless of what happened today, win or lose, I think Ten Hag was going to get sacked today. Well, maybe not today, maybe tomorrow, maybe the day after. I think they're going to go their separate ways. Now, I think a lot of people today may buy into this Kool-Aid and may go, well, he's won us the FA Cup. How can you sack him? This coming from the club that sacked LVG, Louis van Gaal, after winning an FA Cup as well. So just bear that one in mind. Secondly, we have seen these types of results and these types of performances happen sporadically throughout this season. Everyone will admit that this has been a car crash of a season for Manchester United. But there have been moments in this season that have seen moments like this, that have seen results like this, that have seen performances like this. They're not consistent enough. And you can say keep them in as much as you want, but guess what? You waste another summer in buying his type of players that haven't clearly worked out. Onana, to an extent, not worth the money. Mason Mount, who? Anthony, whoever else you can think of. I can't remember off the top of my head the players that he's brought in. Another summer like that, on top of another beginning of the season that is so hit and miss, that is so inconsistent. What's the point? What is the point? I've been saying all season, United need to rip out the majority of what is there, squad-wise, backroom staff-wise, coaching-wise, manager-wise, and rip it all out and start again from scratch, for the most part. This result today, this performance today, this trophy obtained today, in my opinion, does not change what needs to happen at United. And I speak on that from the outside looking in, as a Liverpool fan, as a rival. If United want to get back to where they aim to be and where they want to be, that's what needs to happen. That is simply put what needs to happen, in my personal, humble opinion. What did I get up to? They say the players throw their managers under the bus. The red team is Eric better off elsewhere. Bayern wanted him. I think he will be better off elsewhere. I really, really do. I think there is definitely a good quality coach in there. How much of that quality is actual quality remains to be seen. Where he'll go, I don't know. But I think with a hierarchy that is going to allow him to be him, with a hierarchy that's going to allow him to do whatever he wants to do on the pitch with the players that he's provided with, I think he is a good coach. I just don't necessarily think that he's good enough when it comes to talent ID and bringing in players, because he's basically brought in players that he's worked with previously, maybe with one or two exceptions. And they just haven't worked out for him. Now, whether that's basically them not adapting to the Premier League, or whether that's not them not playing for him and his style, because his style is so sporadic. He can have moments like this. He can have performances like this, but they're not consistent enough. They're not consistent enough. From my sources for the Red Team, whenever a manager doesn't get a top 4 in a season, they have a clause where they are allowed to be fired. Have you heard this, Captain Blake? No. I mean, I guess there are strange clauses out there, but I'm not necessarily sure he has one specifically. I don't know. So we'll have to wait and see on what the future holds for him. But yeah, Erik Ten Hag era's coming to an end. Erik Ten Hag did a Louis van Gaal Red Army and won cup afterwards he left. Yeah, again, like we both said, bro, that's a very worthy point to make in regards to a manager who wins a cup and then gets sacked almost immediately. Mason Mount finally won an FA Cup at Wembley. Yeah, he did. Bruno Fernandes has finally won a trophy as well. Erik Ten Hag to Bayern after Xabi Alonso makes sense. Probably thinking way too further down the line there, bro. I don't know how Vincent Kompany does, I guess. That one's going to be interesting to see. But yeah, the Erik Ten Hag stuff. For me, it's just not consistent enough. It's not consistent enough. And look, I hope he stays because I don't think he'll be, or United at all, will be a threat in any way, shape, or form if Ten Hag is to stay. I personally just don't think, unless they change the recruitment, unless they change the scouting, unless they change everything, which they're claiming they're going to do, they're making all the right noises. It's whether or not they'll actually follow through on those kinds of promises and those kinds of things to actually suggest whether or not things will change. I don't think this is the right manager anyway. Unless things change around, because is he playing his brand of football? This is definitely not the brand of football that he was playing with Ajax. This is not the reason why he was one of the most sought-of managers in world football when he was taking charge of Ajax. This is not the football he was playing there. This is not the football that United fans were dreaming of when they were coming in, playing so direct, playing so, some would say, a little bit negatively in terms of how many men they had behind the ball in order to spring a counter-attack. I'm not trying to rain on the parade. I'm not trying to water it down. I'm not trying to be salty or anything. I'm just saying that this isn't the kind of football that a lot of United fans are expecting to be played. And I just find it a bit strange to me. And of course, this is going to be a topic that divides a lot of people. I'm just not completely sold on it. Like I say, I hope they keep him because I don't think there'll be a threat. They may win the odd cup here and there. Erik Ten Hag in 2 years has won the Carabao Cup and the FA Cup. That's nothing to be sniffed at. That's nothing to turn your nose up at. That is a great achievement by a manager that has had a lot of issues facing him at that club, and he somehow managed to turn United into a bit of a cup team. Not only did they win the Carabao Cup last year, but they also got to the FA Cup final of last year as well. And this year, they've gone on to win an FA Cup. So there's nothing to be sniffed at there. There's nothing to be, in any way, shape, or form, looked down upon there. But at the same time, it's the league that United want. It's the league that United need. And let's not forget as well. This could have very easily been Coventry. No, I'm joking. If it wasn't for an outdated offside law that clearly needs to be updated, and I've said that a lot, yeah, it could have easily been Coventry this. So, yeah. Yeah. We shall see. We shall see. Look, I think if he is to leave, I think there are a few decent players in there that easily will turn up for the next 6 months under a new manager, but then they'll drop off again. United need a clear out. If he's to stay, United, I mean, either way, whether he stays or whether he goes, United need a clear out. But the fact of the matter is that I personally don't find half of those players good enough for Manchester United, for the kind of caliber that United hold themselves to, the standards that United hold themselves to. I don't think half of them players are good enough. I think half of them players need moving out. I think some of those players are a bit hit and miss. I think some of those players are definitely, a few of them players are definitely ones that you should build your future around. I said get rid of Bruno Fernandes, but if he continues to play like he has done these past several weeks, then you keep him and you keep him happy and you keep him playing like he is right now. Because when he's in this kind of form, as much as a rat that he is, and as much as I don't like him as a person, I can't deny he's a fantastic footballer for his position. But when he's whining and moaning and constantly in the referee's ear over stupid things, and when he's being a horrible little rat and he's fouling players left, right, and centre because he's being petty and he's being pathetic, that's when I don't like him. No Jordan Henderson in the England squad. Nope. And rightfully so, in my opinion. Erik ten Hag had a lot of media questions throughout 2 seasons so far. I mean, he's at one of the arguably the biggest club in English football. Obviously, Liverpool has something to say about that. But he's at one of the biggest clubs in English football. He's going to have a lot he's going to have a lot of media circus around him. Basically, is what I'm trying to say. Erik ten Hag finished even worse to David Moyes' time. Yeah, you can't deny that. He did win a trophy. And Moyes didn't even finish the season, so yeah, could have been Mainstone if they won the commentary. Yeah, we can play that game all day long, mate. We can play that game all day long. I was just trying to throw commentary in there with a little bit of credit, but it is what it is. Erik ten Hag project had been stop-start. Yeah. And Man United fans will go, well, he's had injuries, he's had outside interferences, and he's had this, he's had that. And it's like, everybody goes through them. Everybody goes through them times. Like, it's how you deal with them. And my issue all season has been, despite all of the injuries, United still don't look like a competent footballing side. I could look at Sheffield United, who were the worst team in the arguably, you could say the worst team in Premier League history in terms of defensively, or maybe one of the worst teams ever to come up from the Championship to the Premier League, one of the worst Premier League performances of all time, maybe with Derby's record lowest accumulated points tally being worse. And I could go, well, at least they played better football than Manchester United if they had the same amount of injuries. So that's my issue with it. Erik ten Hag's system project has not been good enough, and no amount of excuses in terms of injuries and things of that nature is going to change my mind on that, because everybody deals with injuries, but everybody still manages to play at least some kind of good level of football, at least is competitive enough, and doesn't have these inconsistent spells of losing to or dropping points to lower ranked teams of the league. It just seems strange to me. Mainoo did well this season, young player. Yes, Mainoo did well. As I've said before, though, my issue with Mainoo is if he is to stay in that environment, and if the environment around him doesn't change, I'm not expecting him to evolve his game and for him to evolve anytime soon. I've seen it with Rashford. I'm seeing it with Garnacho. Both players rose through the ranks of the academy, broke through onto the senior squad level. Both are not playing to the level that their potential promised. So that's my worry for Mainoo. I think if he stays in that environment, or if the environment doesn't change around him, I think he'll be playing at this level for maybe another 1 or 2 years before declining and regressing, even at his young age. That's just my worry with him. Why do you think goalkeepers get injured these days? Is it too much trying to pass from the back, etc.? I think it's a lot more of that. I think it's a lot more playing with the ball at your feet. I also think it's a lot more of your goalkeeper pushing higher up the pitch than ever before, I think. It does seem strange that I'd be interested to see the stats on that one, actually. I'm interested to see, because obviously, I know obviously goalkeepers are mainly getting injured because of collisions that happen in the box. Ederson's, for example, a couple of weeks ago. But no, it'd be very interesting to see the stats on that one. How did Crystal Palace win against them and lose to Manchester? Football is a funny old game. Yeah, anyone could be anyone, dude. That's why we lost to Man United earlier on in the season. I mean, well, we drew to them twice in the Premier League and lost to them in the FA Cup after extra time. So, is what it is, isn't it? Is what it is, isn't it, mate? Oh dear. Bayern should win. Yes, yeah, they should. They really should. Bayern should finish the season off with that. I know they had a bit of a bump against Atalanta, but really they should be doing the domestic double at the very least. So yeah. Yeah, thank you very much, Ballon. Lovely to talk to you, bro. Thanks you very much for stopping by and talking. Really lovely to have you here, bro. Lovely to see you. So take care, my dude. Have a good night, my friend. Yeah, Man United, Eric Ten Hag, Manchester City, the FA Cup final. That is all wrapped up there. So just basically to sum up, Man United win their 13th FA Cup. They are through to the Europa League for next season. Eric Ten Hag has now recorded a Carabao Cup and an FA Cup in 2 seasons of being Manchester United manager. Does that mean his job is safe? That is going to be the big question in the aftermath of this result and of this whole entire day, really. Is his job safe? In my opinion, I still think he's gone. I still think he has gone from this position. I still think he's going to get sacked. But in saying all of that, we're going to really see who's in charge. Because I personally think that the new owners, Ineos, Sir Jim Ratcliffe, whoever, if they're seeing the bigger picture, and if they are footballing people, and if they're smart about it and want a completely fresh rebuild, the answer then is to then get rid of Eric Ten Hag. I think it would be short-sightedness to go, he won the FA Cup, but it wasn't entirely convincing. Round by round, not really that convincing. The Premier League, 8th place finish, low finish. We were lucky to get through into the European competition because of the gateway that winning the FA Cup provided. I think it'll be short-sightedness to keep him. When we've already seen this season that United are capable of putting in these types of performances, are capable of putting in these types of results. But they do it so sporadically that it's so inconsistent, it's so hit and miss, that I don't think it will continue next season. I mean, as in, I don't think that this is going to certainly be the turning point, and this is certainly going to be like the moment in which United's kick on and they're going to go 25 league games unbeaten. I don't think that's going to be the case. So, in my opinion, it should be that Eric Ten Hag's getting sacked. It should be, but I don't think it will be. I think it's disrespectful, the build up to this game, in which all the talk has been on Erik ten Hag and him being sacked, or on potential new managers coming forward for the job and being spoken to. I'm just not so sure. I'm not so sure about it. Interesting questions lie ahead. Interesting times lie ahead. So I'm very much looking forward to seeing it from afar, what Man United do. I think they've got a real tough question on their hands here. And as for Manchester City, look, poor performance from them today. They were shocking. They were appalling. Yeah, and ultimately they got embarrassed. They got embarrassed by Manchester United, which will sting even more, being fierce rivals. It will sting even more for them. It's not all bad news. They're still Premier League champions. They've still won their 4th Premier League in a row. But yeah, they would have loved to have added that double. They would have loved to have added a domestic double to their collection this season. I think there's a lot there for Guardiola to digest and look at. I think there is a fair amount there for City to look at and go, right, we potentially got away with one this year. We potentially got away with, Liverpool crumbling. We got away with Arsenal dropping points at the right moments for us to really take advantage of. I think there's quite a bit there for Guardiola to look at and be like, right, we need to kick on for next season. We need to be a bit more ruthless. We need to be a bit more sharp. And I think the big important one for Guardiola is going to be Haaland. And I'm not saying get rid of him. I'm not saying that he's going to think maybe we should look at cashing in on him whilst we have the opportunity to do so. I think it's how can we use Haaland more? Because this whole Haaland thing, as incredible as he has been, as amazing as what he has been in terms of his goal scoring, as incredible as it has been to see him get the Golden Boot 2 out of 2 so far during his seasons here in the Premier League. For me, it's been more about Guardiola and this City side adapting to Haaland rather than it has been about Haaland adapting to Manchester City. I'm just wondering now whether or not that's going to be a worthwhile, long-term, sustainable approach to have. A lot of interesting questions, a lot of interesting thoughts to obviously throw to you all. No, Manchester City will definitely feel that as a kick in the teeth for them as Manchester United go on and take their 13th FA Cup title. Congratulations to them once again. United are the FA Cup winners for the 2023-24 season. Erik ten Hag, could this be his last hurrah? Is this his last hurrah? Like I say, we discussed a hell of a lot today about United, about City, about Erik ten Hag, about the 2 teams, the 2 squads, whatever you want to call it. I'm sure they'll make for interesting and great reading. Whatever you guys have to say in the comment section, the chat, whatever it may be. Get involved. Let me know your thoughts, your comments, opinions, predictions, feelings, whatever you want to call it. That'll make for great and interesting reading, I'm sure. Otherwise, hit the like button on the way out if you enjoyed the video. Subscribe if you're new or want to see more content like this. Both things are always and thoroughly greatly appreciated. And as always, thank you all so much for watching and listening. I've been Fletch. This has been another Fletch Talks live stream. Once again, congratulations to Manchester United, FA Cup winners for the 13th time in their history, thanks to goals from Alejandro Garnacho and Kobbie Mainoo. Fantastic for United. Not so fantastic for everybody else, myself included. The one time I actually wanted City to win, and they let me down. Typical, that, isn't it? Absolutely typical. No, it is what it is. Thanks everyone for watching. Take care. Enjoy the rest of your night. Speak to you all again very, very soon. Peace.